So I'm going to do a quick podcast today about a question that I get all the time from potential clients. A lot of times they've come to us after having bad experiences with other agencies, or just being really confused about what they should be asking for, what's important in hiring a digital marketing firm, trying to figure out how much local SEO should cost. So I want to talk about what influences the pricing, what drives SEO cost up, what drives it down. Kind of what you should expect, what you should look for, we're going to talk a little red flags. I'm going to dive into each one of these a little bit more with actually quite a bit more with a dedicated podcast to each one of these ideas that I'm going to touch on. But this is a big picture, that you can, when you're in the early stages of making the decision on, am I going to stop doing this myself? Can I do this myself? Should I hire somebody to do it? Is it worth hiring somebody to do it? This is a great place to start. Listen to this podcast, read this article, and it's going to give you some insights onto how much you should be paying, what the value is there, what you should be getting out of it, and kind of what goes into those costs. So let's jump right in. So the first thing is, this is current 2025. This changes on a fairly regular basis, and certainly deliverables do. And pricing obviously changes over time, but for now, 2025, and anytime in the near future, I would think this is getting, unless barring some really major change, this should all be relevant. So what drives local SEO prices up? If you're in a really competitive metropolitan area, that can cost a lot more. If you're in a Miami, an Atlanta, a Los Angeles, a Chicago, a Dallas, something like that, and you're trying to rank for that particular keyword, that can drive, or for that particular location, geographic location, that can drive costs up a lot. But that doesn't mean if you are in a local metro like that, chances are that you could rank very well for a smaller, more specific area. So I'm originally from Miami, and so I'll use that. If you were trying to rank for a small suburb of Miami, like Coral Gables or Coral Springs or something like that, that's going to be much more doable. Particularly if it's near the physical location of your business. We do a lot of service-based businesses, and so they drive around and they cover a large area, depending on how big the area that they're in. Some will cover like a 2-county area, in a more rural area. In a smaller area, or in a more metropolitan area that's a real high density population, they're going to focus just on a couple of municipalities, like I was talking about. So that can change your cost pretty dramatically. But as a general rule, if you are in a big metro versus a more rural, less densely populated area, that can affect your pricing a lot. If you want to rank in multiple cities, this again goes to the metro thing. If you're trying to get multiple cities in a big major metro, like Atlanta, and you want to get all of the surrounding areas, that's going to cost more. You're just going to have to spend more. You're going to have to write more location-based pages. You're going to have to write more content-specific stuff. You might have additional Google business profiles. If you're in an area, we're based in central east central Florida, Volusia County, which is Daytona is our major sort of well-known metropolitan. In this area, most of our service-based businesses, if they have trucks that go out and do stuff, think HVAC, plumbing, electric, that kind of thing, we cover Volusia and Flagler County for them. Typically, we just do eastern Volusia County because there's a big gap of rural state park that's between us and western Volusia County. And so they lose an hour in their day driving out there and driving back for a technician. So we're going to focus on a group of municipalities that's just on Volusia and Flagler County, because they're 2 counties. Volusia is pretty big, but just the eastern side of it is relatively reasonable. It's a single corridor, and Flagler County is a real small county, so we can pick up 2 of them. If one of our clients asks us to go down toward Orlando, because Seminole County is fairly adjacent to us, and if they wanted to target that is going to cost more money. So if you're in a large metro and you're trying to target multiple service areas, that's going to cost more. If you're a small metropolitan area and you're trying to target multiple, that's not as big a deal. If you are a location-based business, say for instance a massage therapist or a gym or something like that, where people come to you, you can target generally a much smaller area, and it should be less expensive for you to rank locally for using your Google Business Profile and your website. If you need a custom content strategy, that's going to cost more. So if you have really, really specific things that need to be addressed that's in an industry that's outside of the sort of regular realm that a digital marketing firm, whether niche specific or not. For us, we largely do home services based companies. We do have some other stuff outside of that, but the bulk of our client base is home services, and so we know a lot about that. We know a lot about electrical. We know a lot about plumbing. We know a lot about HVAC. We know a lot about window treatments and things like that, because we have people that specialize in those, and we can generate content for that. If you're trying to work with an agency that doesn't do something specific, or that doesn't do what you specifically do, and they're having to really kind of learn the industry and stuff like that, you might be better off finding a niche-based agency that's specific to that. Be careful with those. There's good ones and bad ones, but that's true for all digital marketing firms. But the big picture, if you are looking at really, really custom content that has like all the photography is photographs of your location, of your people, of things like that, that definitely just costs more, because there's a lot more man hours that go into it. If you want really, really fast results, so if you want to rank quickly for a variety of different keywords, there's a lot more effort that goes into that. It can be done, but it is a much more expensive endeavor. If you need additional services, Google Business Profile, review strategies, link building, reporting should be included in pretty much all of them. But if you have additional custom reporting or anything like that, that can drive the monthly cost up. So those are the things that generally can drive your monthly cost up when you're looking for a local business to do SEO for you. So let's talk about what drives prices down. So if you're in a really small area, or you're in a low competition niche, you might be able to do this very reasonably for not a lot of money. If you only need a basic citation, like citations are NAP, I've talked about on the podcast before. It's name, address, phone number. If you just need somebody to go through, make sure that stuff matches everywhere across the internet on all the different citations, websites, and things like that, that should be pretty reasonable. If you just need that and just a little bit of maintenance on that kind of thing, that's like either a quarterly thing or something like that, that can be less expensive. If your website is already search engine optimization friendly, we onboarded a client a few years ago that is still with us. Their website actually search engine optimized really well. And our first question to them is, why do you want to work with us? And it turned out that they really just did not like, they didn't like the responsiveness they were getting from their existing agency, and they also did not like the well, there was something else that they didn't like about them. But basically, they just didn't feel like they had a good relationship with that agency, so they were shopping it around. They found us, they liked us, and they're still with us. If you're only focused on a single location, like I said in the earlier part of this, if you just want to focus on something that's right around your physical location, like you're a massage parlor or something like that, then you can absolutely save money on search engine optimization. And if you're okay with slower results and a longer term strategy, so if you want to say, look, we recognize it's going to take us a while, but we do know that we need to do stuff to our website. Do you have a package where you just kind of take a look at it quarterly, make sure that it's current with whatever needs to be done? Do maybe a handful of posts, blog posts per year, that kind of thing, that can save you money. So from that, if you fit in one of those, you could maybe get away with $500 to $800 a month for your local stuff. If you're outside of that, then you're probably going to expect to pay more than that. So what makes some SEO companies so expensive versus others? So higher price firms often charge more because of the following reasons. If they offer strategy as a part of the monthly offering, and so if they're not just, if they're really thinking about what it is that makes you money, what is converting, what are the current trends in the market that you're in, all of that is strategic. And if they're thinking through that stuff before they're creating content for the website and making sure it matches your brand and making sure it matches your voice and all the different things that it should do, that just takes more time, it takes more expertise, and it's more expensive. If you have a dedicated strategist and account manager, that sometimes is the same. Generally, there's going to be a team. There's going to be SEO experts. There's going to be graphic designers. If you're doing Google Ads, that's going to be a different specialist for that. Social media is going to be a specialist. Google Business Profile is going to be a specialist. There's some overlap on all of those, like the graphic designer is going to do some stuff for the Google Business Profile, and there's going to be overlap, but each one of those is generally going to be a specialized person or team. So if you have a dedicated project manager that you can reach out to directly, as opposed to just submitting a request on a ticket system or a chat with whoever happens to be answering chats that day, that's going to cost you more. So if there's a person that you know by name that you can get on the phone with and you can go back and forth with and get responsiveness, that's going to cost more. That's going to be a more higher touch and more expensive. If they provide in-house services, there's fully dedicated in-house, which everybody is a full-time employee and based at their location. That's generally going to be the most expensive. The sort of in between, you're going to have sort of hybrid. So you're going to have people that are local, that are employees, that are based in the United States, and then you're going to have some of the specialists that are really, really high hour things like SEO, things like that. Those are going to be offshore, but you're always going to use somebody that has a good voice for your community, that understands your brand, speaks and creates content in a way that it sounds natural for an American local market. Those people are going to be based in the United States. And then let's see, if you get custom and transparent reporting as opposed to just sort of an automated boop, it just sort of comes out to you. If your account manager is either trying to get you on a Zoom call or, typing up a detailed explanation of how you should read the report, what's important in the report. Often, and I do this for some of our clients, I'll call out things that we're concerned about. We'll say, hey, these keywords kind of dropped off last month. It might not be that big a deal, but we need to keep an eye on it. We'll say when there's an algorithm shakeup. Occasionally we have a client that really gets clobbered by the algorithm changes, and they'll lose a ton of rankings. And we'll say, hey, we lost a bunch of these rankings, but this is our plan, and we're going to explain this is what we're planning on doing to get them back up. And then we're going to continue that narrative over the next few reports as the rankings continue to rise back up to where they were. So that custom reporting, it takes time for both to create and then to interpret and explain in such a way that it makes sense to a business owner who's busy and has other things to do. If they're focusing on not just here's our rankings, but also following through and making sure that there's conversions happening on the website, that you're getting form fills, that you're getting phone calls, and that they align with your strategic goals as a business owner, that it's the products that you want to sell. There is always going to be some spam coming in through your forms. It's just really difficult to get a form such that it's easy for someone to submit, doesn't weed out a ton of people, but also doesn't get any spam. It's very difficult to do. So you're probably going to get some spam, but you're going to have some in a more expensive offering. You're going to have somebody that's looking through the form on a regular basis and making sure, maybe when you first start the engagement with them. I generally try to do this for my clients. I think most of our project managers do. That they're gonna when that first form fill comes in, they're going to probably reach out to you via phone call or SMS or however you want to be contacted and say, hey, you just got a form fill through the site. It looks like it's a good lead to us. Just want to make sure that you see it because, potentially it could go to spam and we don't want that to happen. And then to follow up and make sure that it is indeed a lead that you want. So those are all kind of things that make SEO companies more expensive. What makes some companies really cheap? So this is the thing. You see $2,500 a month down to $99 a month. Every once in a while, we'll get a phone call from this or a form fill from somebody that's saying, oh, we need these services, and we heard $99 a month was what we should pay for it. And so the way that price point happens is it's generally almost entirely outsourced to a low-cost overseas team that often is not dedicated. That it'll just go to a different group of people. There might be a group of like people on Upwork or some group that a different person is going to be doing whatever it is, social media posts, Google business posts, blog creation. So what you're going to see with that is you might get some good content once in a while. And what I've seen with companies that do this, often the first at the beginning of the engagement, you'll get sort of their A team, and then after that, it'll sort of get kicked down because the A team has to go on to the next people, because they know that you see a few and maybe you stop paying attention after that, and you don't realize that the content is really kind of dropped off and it doesn't sound natural, and it's just isn't appropriate to your business. And so that's one thing that generally can cause the prices to be like, doable at $99 a month. If you're getting cookie cutter work, so it's a generic blog post that they're sending out to 150 clients, if it's generic social media posts that are not specific to your brand, that again are going to, hundreds of different clients. This is not uncommon in niche businesses. When you see these prices for things like spas and things like that, often the content is being sent out to thousands of spas across the country, because there's really no way that you could make money in any other way. There's no strategy is another thing. There's usually vague reporting. It's just kind of a cookie cutter report, and there's no communication. There's nobody that you can talk to. There is typically a thing. A lot of times they'll sign you to long-term contracts as well. So they'll say it'll be something like, okay, it's only $99 a month or $150 a month or whatever it is. And we have to get 12 months, and if at the end of 12 months you don't see results, then we'll give you half your money back or something like that. And typically it's a churn. We've onboarded clients that have had that have come from places like this. It's a churn model, so they know that they're never going to keep a client, and a client that's paying attention at the end of that contract is probably going to cancel. But they will have gotten $1,800 out of them or something like that. And if you're based in some offshore locations, $1,800 is the equivalent in the United States of $18,000 or $20,000. And so it's worth it to do that. And they can hold enough back, sort of a hold enough back that they can give you half of that money back, and it's still a profitable enterprise for them. And then the last one, which would be really not visible to most business owners, is using what are called black hat SEO tactics. These are tactics that can cause your rankings to. It might work in the short term, but over the long term, it could hurt you, and it can actually get you like permanently banned from Google and things like that. So it can be dangerous to work with these low cost firms if you're not really sure that that they're not doing that kind of thing. So that covers that stuff. Where does Drive Group fall? This is a question that, because people are asking me, they want to know how much we're charging. So basically, we have packages that start at about $800 a month. That's going to be like for what we were talking about. We're mostly just making sure that your website is is decent looking. It's going to rank okay. We're not going to be actively trying to make the website rank. We probably are going to be actively doing Google Business, at least profile optimization. We're going to be doing Google Business posting. We're going to optimize the Google Business profile for keywords in our posts and our responses and things like that. That's going to be $800 to $1,600 in there. At the higher end of that range, you're going to be getting some blog posts per month. You're going to get technical on-page SEO, and on a regular monthly basis. All of our stuff comes with reporting, and so we're going to get dedicated. You're going to get a dedicated account person. You're going to get transparent reporting that's interpreted for you so that you understand what it is that you're seeing. The next tier is going to be typically $2,500 to $3,500 a month. That's for generally companies that like I said, want to go from one county all the way to another county. So for all of Eastern Volusia and Flagler County in our local area. If you're in a major metro, that doesn't necessarily transfer. I mean, you might, if you were in a Miami or an Atlanta, at that tier, you still might get one fairly specific geographic area, but it's also going to cover a lot more people. It's hard to kind of boil it down by person, but suffice to say, back at the start of this thing, if you are in a high density area, typically you're going to be in the middle range minimum for us, and possibly skewing up to the higher range. And then the highest tier for us, which includes all the soup to nuts, and we're going to be doing social media posting, regular Google Business profile posting, multiple blog posts per month, technical SEO, link building, all of the things, and that's usually going to be between 3,500 and up, depending on how many locations you have, how many locations you want to rank for. That's all pretty much, it's going to include some portion of all of that. And then after, as you want to scale it up through more keywords, or for instance, we have some service companies that handle HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and propane. We have some variation of those across multiple clients, and a handful that do all four, and then some that do, some variation of them. It's not that every single one of those is going to cost you an additional full amount of SEO, but there's only a certain amount of work that we can do to rank you for any one of those keywords, and so, or any one of those keyword groupings. And so we're going to have to spend time for HVAC, we're going to have to spend time for plumbing, we're going to have to spend time for electrical. And so depending on how many of those you want to rank and for how many keywords, that's going to determine what your cost with us is. All of them include Google Business Profile optimization of some kind, location page strategies we're going to walk you through, just whether or not we're regularly updating those or anything. It just depends on what the different tiers are. We're going to always be paying attention to how the algorithm is, what it's doing, what the changes are, how that affects your website. If you're at the lower tier and you're specifically local to, like, just a municipality, like a masseuse, a massage therapist, then you're probably mostly, we're going to be really focusing on your Google Business Profile. If you are a massage therapist and you're listening to this and you want to do this yourself, I have a podcast on that. Listen to it. You can start doing this yourself. We have success stories that we've done a strategy session with a client. They didn't want to work with us, but they came back to us later because they found such value in it, and it gave them, they got enough business off of it that they thought, you know what, we're staying really busy doing this. Why don't we give this to Drive Group, and they can handle the Google Business Profile posting and optimization and stuff for us. And so you can start yourself on this, and it's gonna get you traction if you pay attention to what's in the podcast, or you get on a strategy session with me, and I'd be more than happy to walk you through. I guarantee it's no pressure. I am not a high pressure salesperson. I'm not really a salesperson at all. We just want to get value. We want to get you on the phone, show that we are experts in our area, get you some value. And a lot of times that leads to clients saying, hey, you know what, we'd like to have you do this for us because we feel like we're going to be successful together. And so that's pretty much how we sell it. We're just honest and we try to help you. So that's pretty much it. I'm looking, because I did a blog post this, I'm looking over at it. If you're watching this on video as opposed to a podcast, you can see I'm kind of looking over to my right once in a while. That's pretty much it. Again, if you want to get on a strategy session with us, it's drivegroupllc.com/ I believe contact-us. But just go to drivegroupllc.com and you're going to see schedule a strategy session right at the top of the website. And that's the best way to get through to us and to get our specific advice on what is going to work for your business. So thanks for listening, and good luck with it.